everyone for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I hope you all had a very good week so far. And well, our lives are kind of back to relative normality, I think. I think that's one thing we can all agree on, that there has been some unprecedented amount of changes all around us, like it or not. Bigger the change, bigger the opportunity. As product people here, now is probably actually the great time to talk about design sprints, especially remote design sprints. It could be a great way for us to quickly explore and validate new product opportunities. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Sabrina to you all the way from Germany. And thank you very much again, Sabrina, for getting up very early for us. So Sabrina has been a designer of 25 years, helped all sorts of companies to innovate faster with confidence. She is a recognized person in the design sprint community, especially for her work in remote design sprints. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Sabrina.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. And I will also very quickly start my sharing my screen so that you can see what I prepared for you. So just a second, then I will start sharing. La, 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 la. Here we are. I start. Just again, click, click, click. So here we are. Hello, Auckland. I'm really excited to be on the other side of the world. So that's so exciting. And thanks, Ginger, for inviting me. And I say also thank you, Heath, for making the connection. That was really awesome. And I'm very honored to be in your product tank. And what I want to do tonight is to inspire you about design sprints. So I just start immediately. So we are, we have this situation that we are now remote. And actually that's also the same, I think, for all of us. And it was also for me. I started working remote already 2 years ago. But to be very honest, nobody cared about. So my clients, they just wanted to be here in the room, and so yeah, nobody wanted to have remote work. But now it's, I think, very common. And to be honest, for me, that's the new normal. And let's say it won't be like lasting forever that we only work remote, but I think this will be a very default standard. And I'm happy about that as well, because I like it. I can now, like you see, I'm traveling to Auckland, and I'm traveling every day. I travel somewhere else, and that's amazing to meet people around the world. And okay, I want to introduce myself. So I'm Sabrina. I'm located near Stuttgart. I'm a designer, and like Ginger already announced that, so I'm running here a design studio since more than 25 years. And starting with, let's say, a normal design, I would say I changed my career 3 years ago when I started with the whole agile world, the whole agile topics. And then I experienced also the design sprint. And I was hooked from the first moment. So the design sprint, it was like pieces of puzzles fell to their right space, and I knew from the first moment that is my thing. Maybe it has to do because I'm a designer. I have a certain way of thinking. I was always did strategic work, but I can tell you it has so the design sprint is not only for designers, but actually for me that made so much sense. And so I started, I showed you here some photos. So I was invited last year to the Design Sprint conference. I was really lucky to be there, and not only that I was very honored, but it was amazing to see how the design sprint is spread. And also not only, let's say, like people like me having an agency and doing design sprint, there are a lot of freelancers, consultants, and so on, but also that it's spread over companies. I would say most of the companies were from US, but a huge number of companies are already using the design sprint and integrated it to their workflow. I will come up to that later. I brought you some examples. And I also made a deep dive with Jake Knapp, the inventor of the design sprint, and that was amazing, a deep dive in the Swiss Alps. And what you see in the middle is my advanced design sprint masterclass, which I just released. I just started because I'm training design sprints already since 2 years, and I'm doing boot camps as well, so open boot camps. And I realized when we went into the remote mode, then I experienced that, I sensed that the people need more than only knowing about the design sprint. So more than only knowing about how the process works and just experience that with a workshop. But they need more confidence also with the remote setup. And that's what I now started. It's a mix of videos. It's a mix of group learning, giving feedback, coaching, and so on. Because I would like to, or I want to make everyone who attends the course to be a facilitator. I just have to say, I'm sorry, it's only in German. But I'm so excited about that, and that, let's say, the last few weeks gave me the space to do that. I'm so excited about that I wanted to share it as well. So what I want to tell you, I really want to inspire you with, let's say, my belief and my enthusiasm about the design sprint. So for me, that was, I brought you this picture because that was how I felt always, that I was the one who had to create these great ideas. So I was always responsible for the ideas and that it will work. And so what if, so I think it's not only for designers, this feeling, but it's also for everyone who is responsible for certain, let's say, ideas, or also if you're a product manager and you are responsible for making this thing running. But what if we could bring everyone, we could make everyone having these great ideas? And actually that was my pivoting moment when I experienced the design sprint, that I had the power to make everyone having these great ideas, especially having a team, and the team that they, let's say they are no creative, they say, oh, I don't have ideas, I'm not creative, I cannot draw. So that was always, it's always, let's say maybe a bit of a misconception, but these teams I can bring to great ideas, and that's the real power. So this is, and this has nothing to do with design or not design, because this is can happen for everyone. So I'm from Baden-Württemberg. I told you, near Stuttgart. So this is known as a region of innovation. And Baden-Württemberg is very proud of that. And I would say we have a huge history, a lot of inventations. We have the jaw, we have a lot of automobiles, inventions. I brought you here a picture from Bertha Benz, she was the first woman who, let's say for me, it's kind of, she traveled in August 1888 with her 2 sons from Mannheim to Pforzheim. And in this patent motor car designed by her husband, Carl Benz. And a few days later, she returned to Mannheim. And this was the first long distance journey in the history of the automobile. And it's considered a pioneer act. And for me, I just translate that to, it was a prototype. So they had the problem that the car worked, but it wasn't proof. There were no proof that it really works, that it really can have a value for the users. And she prototyped it. And so that's what I wanted to give you as an example. But I think like everywhere, and when I just listen to my community and to my colleagues, it's everywhere the same. Companies, they are not innovative enough. So I would say there are a lot of companies that are innovative, but I would say this is a common problem. And right now, especially in our current situation, we need to be innovative and resilient as well. So we have to adapt. We have to adapt fast to the situation, to a new situation. And let's say we have now the Corona crisis, but what will be next year? So we need tools, we need a mindset to change fast. So the design sprint is perfect for that. And what I experience very often, that there is a confusion about what is innovation, what is innovation strategy, what does that actually mean? And what recently Simon Sinek said, or he made a talk, and he said some companies are now in survival mode while others are in reinvention mode, regardless of how much money they have. It's the mindset. And actually there the design sprint really can help. So I think that's such a strong need for this mindset. And let's say having this mindset, you need courage for it. But if you have a tool, or if you have a process, if you have a proven process, then it makes things very much easier. And I want to take you to kind of a journey with a design sprint team. So it's just general, it's not a special team, but I just wanted to make you experience how it is if you are doing a design sprint and what happens there. So what we usually experience is there's a challenge, something like how might we overtake our competitors? This is very common. Or avoid losses. Very often there are products, they usually worked well in the past, but now there is a new market situation, there are competitors. Now it doesn't work anymore so well, and then you make losses. So this is a common situation. Or how can we reinvent our business or service or products? Because so much changed. And sometimes, let's say very often, there is a challenge behind the challenge. So how might we succeed with a limited risk of failure? So also if everyone talks about, oh, we have a culture, mindset of failure, we need to fail fast. Also, if we, let's say, now I talk about Germany, if we tell us always, it gets a bit, how can I say, it's still not so easy, because everyone wants to fail in the right way, and that again gets some pressure on the people, so that's the problem. And very often they need buy-in from stakeholders, whatever they do. And when you are responsible for, let's say the teams in a design sprint, there's one responsible, sometimes it's a product owner, sometimes it's a CEO, sometimes it's some lead person responsible for the project, like I told you, responsible. So, and they always think about and just want to balance between having what is the right way, what is the right method, and this is something, let's say, that's behind the whole challenge. So what they need is a bold idea. They need courage. They need an engaged team and also the right team. So it's always about interdisciplinary, a diverse team. So also we talk about diversity in sense of not only men, because, okay, here in Germany, or especially here in my region, we have a lot of engineer-driven companies, a lot of men as well. So right in front of me, there is a tuning company from Mercedes, and for sure they have more men than women. So this is also a very important, not only from the background, but that we have a diverse team. And we need a prototype to test. So, and the result then is, so after the design sprint, I will talk more about the design sprint, but then the result is you have a budget, you have buy-in from stakeholders, you have a growth mindset. So the team has a growth mindset, has an open mindset, and the team gets momentum. And don't take my word only for that, but I recently had Helen Björkman from Tetra Pak in a meetup as a speaker, and she said, we save between 6 to 12 months, think of that, by running a 1-week design sprint. It's super efficient. So that's amazing, a quote, and I think that that should be a real kickstart for you to start to try out the design sprint. I brought you now some examples. So this is one, it's always difficult for me to show examples because we have to sign NDAs and so on. But this one I really want to show you, and I'm allowed to do that as well. It's from Lab, and this is a hardware product, but imagine we can do anywhere. We can prototype everything. And it's always important to prototype it in a most realistic way possible. We are also doing digital products. And let's say the design sprint mostly is done for digital products, maybe because we have so many, much more, but you can prototype anything. You can make a design sprint for products, for digital products, hardware products, for services, for processes, for new business models as well. So here you see just, this was one of our first remote design sprints recently. And you see we have on the left side, I show it here, on the left side, for example, the concepts. And then on the right side, we already started with so this is later then, I just showed it to you. This is how a prototype then looks like. So it's very realistic. And actually, that's a product that will come out very soon on the market because we just continued. So it worked well, I get a good feedback. And I also want to bring you something else from, this is from Daimler, from Nico Kellhammer. It was also brought by her to a meetup, and it was really interesting. So Daimler is using a method end-to-end innovation, and one of the projects was internally for their catering, so internally of Daimler. And on the left side, you see a sketching. Then they did, after 4 days, they had this prototype in the middle, and on the right side, they have the ready product. So that was also recently, so it's from January 2020. And that's a service. Let's say it's a digital product, but actually it's a service product for them. And I know a lot of companies then, everyone asks then, okay, and what happens then? So we are here 1 week, sometimes, and very often we do an iteration week. Okay, after 2 weeks, what should we do now? What happens then? I can tell you that at least, so you have a better teamwork, you have empowered people, you have kickstart your development, and then it's crucial also to use agile methods to continue, whatever you do. And so we are an agency and we only do the design sprint. So we don't do development work. Sometimes, yes, okay, we do also UX work, but usually we just stop after the design sprint. And I know it's a struggle for huge companies that they don't have these, let's say, agile teams that they start, and after, let's say, 2 other months, they are ready. But there's a nice, interesting concept from Steph Cruchon from Switzerland. and it's called the Design Sprint Quarter. And I'm really happy to share the screen with you, to share the link with you. And if you have further questions, also set you in contact with Steph. It's an amazing concept. You can read about that, but it's actually already planned out. And the concept is also about to put that into a business strategy. So you have an outcome of a design sprint. Sometimes you don't know where you will land when you start with a design sprint. So it's crucial also for a company to think about, does that also has a meaning for the, not only for the users, but also for the company, let's say for the strategy. And this is implemented here in this concept. And also you set up a certain process where you end up with an MVP. So after 3 months, which is a quarter, which is a good, let's say, calculation method for companies, you have an MVP. Okay, so I would like to show you quickly what Jake Knapp has to say. So this was from the deep dive from the workshop in the Swiss Alps. And I hope you can hear my sound. Ginger, please interrupt me if the sound cannot be heard. I will start it.
There are a lot of benefits that come from the design sprint, but I think one that often stands out for people is the chance to accelerate how fast you learn and accelerate how fast you make decisions when you're starting off a big project. And so companies encounter this situation all the time when they're starting something new. It might be building new products, launching a new campaign, things that are expensive and risky. And at the beginning of those moments, you can use a design sprint to quickly work as a team, make some decisions, create a prototype, test it, make sure you're on the right path before you commit. So when we see teams starting to work in this way, they're making better decisions, and over the long run, they're having more success.
What do you think, what kind of people should attend a meetup which we are running to just spread the word about design sprint, to explain the design sprint?
A lot of people can benefit from design sprints and can use design sprints as a way to make their work go better. But it's important to note that although it has the word design in the title, it's not just for designers. Designers should totally be a part of the meetup. They should come, and designers are often the ones who bring this process into teams. But
yeah, business designers,
yeah,
product designers,
yeah, all kinds of designers, industrial designers. But there's actually a lot of good that comes from having product managers, those equivalent kinds of roles, project or product managers, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are engineering leaders or other kinds of leaders in organizations. They can use a design sprint to sort of further their goals and use it as a way, again, just to kickstart projects. But it's a way to bring people from different disciplines together. So anybody who's in a position to try something new, if you're thinking about doing something inventive, coming up with some new products, new solutions, it's a great recipe for starting those initiatives off.
Thanks so much.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I think now you heard it also from Jake that it's not only for designers, but for a lot of range of people. And I want to tell you now what is the design sprint. So very shortly, before I start telling you how the design sprint work, I would like to ask you, we prepared a poll for you, and maybe you can start it. Who of you knows about the design sprint? So maybe Ginger, if you can. Oh yeah, great. So now you see here the poll, and please type in what you know about the design sprint. So that would be great, just to get an overview, to get a feeling for how much you know already about it. And I can only tell you a little bit, because I brought even more topics, and we also want to talk about remote. So yeah, it would be great to hear from you. So very shortly, So I'm doing the Design Sprint 2.0, which is a short version of the original Design Sprint, which takes a week. And this is the version which where you only use 4 days. But actually what is the main point is that the workshop in the beginning is shorter. Instead of 3 days, you have the team in the room, you need them all only 2 days. So you start on the first day with understanding the challenge. So this is like a huge part and it's crucial. Everyone has to understand the challenge and we get the team aligned. Then we start with ideation. And the next day, it's you present the concepts, and then there we make a decision. And then we start doing the storyboard. And the storyboard is actually, we think about, we brief, we think about how does the prototype should look like. And then on the third day, we make the prototype. And then already starting preparing the interviews. And then on the fourth day, there are the interviews. So we get very quickly the feedback, and on the prototype we did on the third day. And the prototype is something which should look very realistic, like I showed you the examples. The more realistic they are, the better the feedback, the more precise the feedback is, and the more you are sure, okay, you are on the right path or on the wrong path. And when you think of working without a design sprint, so what is kind of a default situation for a team? Everyone says, "Oh, we are not able to create." It's always like people hesitate being responsible as well, or also to create ideas and because they don't feel confident. And I'm not talking about design departments, but I'm talking about, let's say, from controlling up to, let's say, acquisition or sales. Usually people outside of the design department, they think they are not creative. So we are not able to. But you can really get relaxed because it's just a prototype. You cannot, you won't mislead or misuse $1 million of dollars because it's just a prototype. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And teams are usually used to commission, so to outsource the work. So they hire designers, they outsource it to external agencies instead of doing that themselves. But you can do that. So you can, as a team, be the maker, be the inventor, and create it together with your team and a diverse team. And the default situation is as well that you work in silos. So every team is working for themselves, but you have to overcome this and making these multidisciplinary teams. And also, what I want to point out, you will get in the end of a design sprint a clear answer to a product idea or a business concept. And also, if the answer of the user is no, it's not validated, we cannot use it, we don't like it, we don't use it, we don't want to use it, this is a good result of a design sprint, because then you won't spend a year of time to something which in the end doesn't work. Okay, I brought you, I just want to see what is the output of the FAQ. Okay.
Yep. So
sorry for...
no worries,
yeah.
Sabrina. So the poll came in, so 24% have run a design sprint, pretty high. 24% have participated in one, so that's almost half, or pretty much just under half the audience have either run or participated in one, so lots of good experience here. 40% haven't done one but are very interested, and 10% are curious and don't know the details.
Oh, that sounds great. I think that's very similar to my audience here. And I think it gets better. So when I started with doing my meetups 2 years ago, nearly nobody knew about the design sprint, knew about the design sprint. But I think it's getting better. So I'm really happy about hearing that. So Now I want to show you how you get prepared. So we use, we created a canvas with all the details. This is now in German, but I will give you the link to an English version, which I will prepare for you. So you can use that. And there it's crucial to make from managing expectations to finding the right challenge. Like I told you, sometimes there's a challenge behind the challenge. And also what you can do after the sprint. So just this is the preparation. And now what you do when you are remote, then we have much more technical preparation. So one-on-one calls. Very highly recommended. And also recommended is that you have, in addition, a person who is responsible for the tech stuff. So again, this is crucial that you really start with the right technical equipment. So just that the Zoom is running, that the mural board or the whiteboard is running. And you have to get connected, the team, build, create a team culture. And this is also more important than if you do it in a room, because when you are together in a room, it works in another way. So it's easier, it's much more easier. So you have to facilitate that also to bond them. And maybe one tip for that, you have to connect like with stories about yourself, personal stories, so then you get a deeper connection. And yes, you have to prepare the board as well. So I'm doing that since 2 years now, the remote work, remote design sprint, but I still tweak my boards. Sometimes I know, okay, I need more guidance. I need maybe more arrows or numbers, and then maybe it's overload. You need also some information. So I'm always kind of tweaking my my boards as well. So yes, and what else do we have? We have to prepare the agenda. So that's crucial. You have also an agenda when you are in the room, but that's, you have the whole team there, and you start and you are together for the whole day. But when you are in the virtual space, you need much more, let's say, structure, because you need more breaks. And so the agenda has to be more carefully designed. And I'm usually a very spontaneous person. Some says I'm chaotic, but I like to go in and I know around, I have a feeling for when I have to go to the next step, when I have to go to make a break. But when you are remotely, I have to learn that as well, to make it more precise with the time, to be more precise with the time. Okay, and you have to facilitate conversation. This is the biggest difference between the both. So what I brought you as well, now we'll talk about the remote design sprint even more, but I have something, I was so inspired by Steph last time about the sorry, I'm a bit distracted because I see here a question and I would like to answer that spontaneously. So Alexandra is asking, what is the reasoning for the 4-day design sprint? So the reason is that it's easier for companies, for bigger companies, to have the team only dedicated, or let's say the bigger team, because there the decider has to be present. And the decider usually is a high level person. So it's a team lead, it's a product owner, it's, you know, you have sometimes the decider is the guy who is paying the bill, who can unlock a budget. So and you have also experts and so on. So it's so you have only 2 days, these teams, these people in the room, and the rest can be done by. So usually we do this as an external agency, but if you are an internal team, then you have other kind of people doing that. So that's why it's great to yeah, to have that. Okay, so The Invincible Company, it's a book recently launched by strategizer Alexander Osterwalder and Yves Pigneur. And they have crazy concept there. It's really interesting. You have to read. I'm not through all of that, but what I want to point out, what I want to present you is the exploit and explore concept. And so usually, and this is, I was inspired by Steph to show you that. So usually you have on the left side, the organization, on the right side, the innovation team. So what I experienced here, when we have kind of bigger companies, they all have an innovation lab, a future lab, an innovation hub, a digital lab, some kinds of labs, but they are always outside. So they create these small and very flexible teams, and they are maybe like we are here in Stuttgart. Okay, usually they are in Berlin because Berlin is hip, Berlin is very fancy. So, but what we need is something like that. So we need people, and maybe that's just the exploration phase is that you explore ideas and you're outside, you're inspired, and exploit is that you are in the company, you're exploiting your product, you're working on your product, but you need to mix that up. So you can, like I told you, just think of the picture of the image of the Superman from the start. Everyone can be this superhero. So you have to take some people from there and you have to mix them up. And that's the problem, what I see here in companies, that they have these fancy innovation labs and they have their organization. And very often they are like a bit jealous as well, because they think, oh, these guys, they are only playing table soccer the whole day and having crazy ideas and have fancy mobiles and fancy rooms, but they have to do the work. So you have to mix them up to get in the end this ambidextrous organization so that they can do both. They can exploit and explore whatever is needed. And like I told you, everyone can be creative, can be innovative. You just need a method, you need a process for that, and then it works. So the concept of strategizer in the book is with this exploration and exploitation phase. You in the exploration phase, you have to think of a lot of ideas. You have to explore a lot of ideas, and it's very chaotic. And you look around and you try out things. You make trials, and then when you have an idea and that really is sustained, then you go to the exploitation phase and you start doing that. Then you have your product and you start scaling that. When you so here you should just take these people from the organization and start exploring a lot of ideas. So see here, I would say the design sprint is very near the exploitation phase, let's say shortly before you start making the development. So you have a lot of ideas, and then you start with the ideas that, let's say, that have they have a lot of potential. You make a design sprint with that. So the concept here. The concept here is that we, what happens here? Someone took over my computer, sorry. Okay, there is an example there's an example from, sorry, something happens here with my mouse. They have an example in the book from Bosch. Just a second. So they have an example They have an example from Bosch that they had 200 teams exploring ideas. Then in the middle phase, there were 60 teams left, and only in the end phase, they have still 15 teams. So less than 10% of the ideas in the beginning made it to get developed. That's really interesting, and you have to think of like that. You have to explore a lot of ideas. So use that, use the design sprint then to make it safe that you can continue. And I want to show you that huge companies, big corporates, use the design sprint in their workflow. And I show you two examples now. And this one is from IBM, from Michael Fries. And he showed us how they use the design sprint. So they have also phases before and after, but they use the design sprint, for example, they call it hills, what they have as, they use the design sprint after the hills. So it's like exploring ideas. And then they use the design sprint to find out, to validate the ideas, and then to jumpstart the idea. So this is how they have it integrated in their process. It's not that they only use the design sprint, but it's a solid part of the whole workflow, innovation workflow. And this is from Daimler, from Nicola Kehlhammer, and they have this process of end-to-end innovation, and they also have processes before that and in the end. And what here is different from, let's say, the normal design sprint is that they don't do the user testing, but they are doing a pitch. So they are also making a lot of ideas, and then they do a pitch, and only the ideas and the concepts they let's say, sustain, and they get chosen from a jury, they made it to the validation and implementation phase. Okay, so now what is this, how does that look like when it's remote? Here you see my template, how we use that right now. And this is how it looks like. This is from a boot camp, but this is how it looks like when you are now remote. And so you have, let's say, these 9 people, 8-9 people, shouldn't be too much. And I want to tell you what is the big difference now, the benefits of a remote design sprint, not of a design sprint. So I think we are clear here that the design sprint is awesome. It's the best method to innovate right now and to make that fast and to get a clue about where you should go with your product or your idea. But what is the benefit of remote design sprints? And this is something I gathered also from people in companies. They do it in companies. So I just listen to all the people around me and what I experienced. So you have no travel expenses. And this has nothing to do with Corona per se, but it's also that a lot of companies already started to cut down their travel expenses, also for climate reasons. And you are more efficient. You are Corona safe right now. I think that's also an argument right now. It's more democratic as well. So it's like you get everyone in this window. It has also disadvantages, but it's a more democratic process now. So also people, you can facilitate easier conversations also with people they don't speak so much when they are in a room. Usually there are people they like to speak and they speak out loud, and you can facilitate that much better. You have more time flexibility. This is a huge advantage. Because also if you have different time zones, but it's not only about time zones. It's also about just having a certain, let's say someone has only time in the morning, but not in the afternoon. Usually when you do a design sprint in the room, you say, okay, I need these 2 days, but then you can say, okay, let's do it in the morning, and the next day we do it in the afternoon. You can play around because it's you don't have to travel, you don't have to make that to dedicate the whole day. Also, if it's usually we say, okay, take the whole day, focus on that only. And you can also do a synchronized work. So we are doing this offline and online. So we have exercises we do online. We have to do online, and exercise we can also do offline. But then you can work asynchronously, but you should still facilitate that and make a certain time. Okay, I have also disadvantages for the remote design sprint. So you have less of these communication, like kitchen talks, less dynamic, but I think so. I'm used to that right now. And I think you can also create energy in a remote team. You have less bonding. So this is something you really have to facilitate and to create. And you have more distraction as well. I think not, it's also about that we have all another situation. So I have also kids at home. I have 3 kids at home. Now school started last week, but still you have these distractions also with a lot of things around you when you are not in the, let's say, in your together in a room where you are focused together on one thing and all distractions are outside. So this is from the Google Design Sprint conference, and what I learned there, and this is what I want to bring to you, that there are a lot of, let's say, design sprint, special design sprint for special products, for special, let's say, reasons, for situations. It's like the talent sprint for HR, to make HR in a more human way, and also on bringing together talents and companies. We have the AI design sprint. Just yesterday, I made a Q&A with the guys from Denmark. They invented they created the AI design sprint. It's crazy effective, this process. And you have the voice design sprint. So this is especially for voice apps, how you can create them, but it's with the design sprint process. So I don't talk about just some workshops. It's the design sprint made especially, or let's say specialized, tweaked in certain ways and added with, let's say, card decks, with canvases, to create these voice products. Enterprise design sprint, this is, I think, could be very interesting for you as well. There you have several different design sprints which you use in the different phases. But the process from the exploration phase in the beginning until the deployment, until the development as well. And there were also a data thinking sprint, crazy interesting. I'm not a data person, but it was so interesting to see that also, and this is the power of the design sprint, to bring together people. This is in the AI, it's in the voice, it's in all these different design sprints. You can bring people, they are not familiar with the topic. They are not data people. They don't know anything about data, but they know about their, let's say, their projects. They have a certain knowledge and expertise, and you bring them together, and you can create these. You can bring these different perspectives in for this specific reason into a design sprint, and you can facilitate that and bring everything together and have a great output. So I just want to point out this shortly, this in enterprise design. So you have engagement sprints. So in the beginning, let's say the exploration phase, like I told you, you have strategy sprint where you think of where does that fit into the strategy of the company. Then you have experimentation sprint, like then you create more these before you start to realize and to develop. And you have, so here I show you quickly, this is a project, some project team, we did an AI design sprint. You see that there's the canvas, and they have card decks, and also a lot of Post-its. This was in the normal world. Gives you an impression. And this is as well, yeah, also working for remote. So I know that the guys from Denmark, 33A, that they have now a remote version. Okay, this is Talent Sprint. And so if you want to know more about these different design sprints or something else, I'm very happy to give you a direct contact or more information about that. So please let me know. I just wanted to give you like an impression what is out there and what the design sprint can do. So I'm finished with my presentation, what I prepared for you, and maybe we can get some questions. I see some stuff here. So Ginger, maybe let me know if I should start with the just answering. Or do you have something where you think, I should start with immediately?
Let's just look at the Q&A section here. So we've got a number of questions. So there is the most popular with 8 upvotes is from Prayer. She's asking, how do you select the team members for design sprint? Is there a magic number of people, such as 7 plus or minus 2? What would be a good composition of the skills that we need to have to run the design sprint?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, Priya. So I would say the magic number is 7 and let's say plus the facilitator, but it's good to have not more than 8 people in a design sprint, because then it takes too much time and it gets too confusing. So this is a perfect number, and you should, so we go there with 2 people, so a facilitator and a designer as well, and the designer, the person who is after that responsible for the prototyping. Also, if this will be a team, there should be one responsible person who gets the whole input of the whole design sprint. And the designer is also very much needed. Like I already told you, the guy who will pay the check, who will unlock the budget for you. And yeah, who should be in the team? I would say you should have a multidisciplinary team, a diverse team. So let's start with multidisciplinary. So as many different, let's say, backgrounds as needed for the topic. So let's say you have someone from marketing, you have someone from sales, you have engineer, you have a developer, you have a designer, you have whatever different, also maybe controlling can be a very important background role there. So, and what is also important, I told you already, decider. And the experts you have in the team, because you start with expert interviews, the expert can be from outside. So you can bring outside information. Let's say you can also I could invite Ginger for a design sprint with me. Also, there's a time zone difference, but I could just interview her for 10 minutes in a remote design sprint. So we can get people from outside into the design sprint in the first phase, or we can also get marketing analysis, user research, but then in a compressed version, like in 5 or 10 minutes and visualized. We can get all this information there. So I hope I answered your question, Priya. If not, please let me know. And I just click that as answered. Wow. So the next one, I have noticed people are getting easily distracted with remote sessions. You are so right, Priya. How do you ensure people are engaged throughout the design sprint? It's easy to read the room when you are facilitating in the physical room. Yeah, that's right. So get a co-facilitator. So let's just don't count them into the team of 7 or 8 max, but get a co-facilitator who helps you reading the room, and everyone should leave open the videos. So I think that's really crucial, that you can see each other in the eyes. So actually, if you have a team who has skin in the game, who is really interested in bringing this thing forward, you have these exercises like 3 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes here. So it's really fast. It's on speed. And I think you don't have a lot of time to get distracted. So please, you have also to think of send your people, let's say, a hanger where it's written, please don't disturb. Make them, give them like a small package where it's so clear, okay, they have to get their room, they have to get their free time. And if there's a distraction in between, that's okay. Also, if there's maybe a very urgent, important call, can happen, but shouldn't. But we make a lot of breaks. We try to compress the sessions as well, and make the agenda very clear so that everyone know, okay, at 1 o'clock I can do this call. So just wait until 1 o'clock. Or I know exactly, okay, now I have a break, I can have lunch, all these things. So, and yeah, have a co-facilitator, and also make warm-ups, make impro games in between, get the people engaged. I think we cannot just do process the design sprint, but we need to get the energy of the people. And therefore these warm-ups in between, sharing stories, sharing personal stories, and having impro games in the breakout rooms, that helps. So I hope I answered this question as well. Okay, I have from Mayuresh, I have run sprints in the past and have had a few pushbacks. One of them has been the acceptance criteria of the quality of the MVP prototype. Okay, we are not doing an MVP. Please read the quarter. I will provide the link to that. So we are doing a prototype, and doing a prototype in 1 day is already not a lot of time, and you have to do this prototype in a very high level way so that it looks original, that it looks real, that you can make the people clear in the end that it's something real and that's a real situation, or they should just answer you as it would be real. But yeah, you have to manage expectations. I think this would be my answer to that. You have to make clear what is the real output. So the real output is not, oh, we will get a product in the end, an MVP, but we will get an answer to the crucial question. So in the beginning of a design sprint, you identify in the exploration, in the problem framing session and in aligning the team and thinking about what is the real challenge. There you you create sprint questions, so negative questions. What can go wrong? What can go wrong? How can can this product be destroyed? What can happen? Where we are afraid of what can happen? And these questions we want to get the answer to in the end by the user. And this is the real value of a design sprint. You can have a concept, you make a prototype for that, and you get an answer from the user. So it's not an MVP. Read the quarter, there you can find more answers to that. So I hope that helps. What is your preferred platform to run remote design sprint? My preferred platform is Mural. Although they have some performance issues, but they made now this booster button, so I hope it will be better. But this is, yeah, this is my preferred platform. Although I use Miro if it's needed, if the client says he wants to have that, or the team says we want to have Miro. But I prefer Mural also because the team, they have a purpose behind what they are doing. I think this is more, this gets more and more important for all companies. This is also where the talent sprint comes into. If you have a purpose and it's not only, let's say, having a lot of money or making a lot of money, then you inspire people to use your products as well. What are your killer activities to run the design sprint? Killer activities. I think you want to know some icebreakers and stuff. So if it's that, please correct me if I'm wrong. I would say impro games are great, but be careful with impro games. But this is very uncomfortable for a lot of people, because there you act. So it's like having an exercise like yes and. So if you start in the solution phase, so you're aligned on the problem, you start creating concepts. Making an impro game like yes and, it's you go in breakout rooms, you are in two, and then you have a story like think of you are siblings, and you meet after a long time, and you remember what happens when you were young, and then so it's building on the idea of the other. So you always say, yeah, I remember this story when we were in the holidays, blah, blah, blah. And then the other has to say, yes, and has to build on that. So these are exercises, they feel a bit uncomfortable. That's true, but you get energized. Or you make stuff like very fast drawings. Also, if you just use a mural board for that, so draw an elephant in 30 seconds. Then after that, you draw a bird in 10 seconds only. And nobody can draw that. So maybe you can imagine that there is something, but it's not that it's nice. Everyone makes something that's ugly, and that's okay. So just unblock yourself. So that's stuff you can make. What is your preferred okay, we already have this. What are the common challenges you've encountered running design sprints, and how do you overcome common challenges? Remote design sprints or other design sprints? I would say maybe you talk in general. I think it's creating the team culture. I think the process is so clear, and you can make the process with a checklist, and just, okay, the first is this. But to create the energy in the team and to create a team culture, especially in the remote version, you have to make them feel comfortable in the remote environment, because the more they feel bonded, the more they develop a team culture, they can trust each other, they feel safe saying some stuff like, oh, it felt a bit strange, I didn't understand that. You should create a culture and a safe space where it's allowed to say, I don't understand, or it's strange, I feel not good with that, or also where you can criticize. I think that's important, and the better it is, the better the output is as well. So I think that's my challenge always, how I start. Sometimes I start not in the right way. Also, it happens that I think, okay, we are all familiar with each other, but I forget sometimes about other people. They have to get connected in another way, or maybe they're more introvert, and they need more time. I think that's a common challenge, and the biggest one. Does having the highest paid person in the room, design sprint, sway decision-making process? Okay, just let me check what sway means. Sorry for that, but schwanken. Oh, I know what you mean. Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for that. Okay, where is the question? It's past. Yes, it can happen, and therefore the concepts are anonymous. And you have also if you maybe know the handwriting of someone, you have to make the decision process very anonymous, and you can talk about that like. Ask people when you facilitate and you present concepts. Also, there's a phase where you present concepts. Then ask the group, how did you understand? Did I explain that in the right way, or maybe you got that in another way? Maybe you made your your buttons or your vote there for another reason. And then you give the responsibility for the explanation, the responsibility for the, let's say, for the aligning to the team. And then everyone can speak out loud and say, oh, but I understand that like that. And if you are the author, you just be one of these and you say, oh, I understand that like that. And then you explain what you thought, what were your thoughts. So that this is how you try to make that as anonymous as possible and as neutral as possible. And then it shouldn't be a problem that there's a decision maker and higher paid people in the room, and every concept, every idea counts. Okay. Any tips on how to do user testing during the sprint, during this pandemic? I would say, yeah, it's maybe easier to reach out to people. It's easier because you make that remotely. So, oops, what happened here? Sorry. It's easier, I would say, but I think maybe if you talk about that you, for example, you have a on the phone you have a prototype and you want to see how people behave. You can. So what we usually do is to share the screen, and you have, or to share a link. And also, if it's an app, it's more important what is on the screen than how they type it. So sometimes you can send the link and you make that remotely. So I hope that answers. There are tools that enable remote user testing, Maze. Yeah, there are, but I would say, so usually we just use, we make interviews remotely. So this is but there are tools out there. And I think if you also want to test more, just use these tools. There are a lot of interesting. I don't have one in mind because I don't use them, but I also heard it in the community. And I think so. Maybe if you go to the remote guidelines from Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky on their sprint book page, there you find also a list. Does having the highest paid okay. So are we through I don't have an overview. Ginger, maybe, oh, we are already over time. I'm so sorry for that. Ginger, maybe, do you want to guide me through if there's another question? I'm a bit, I lost my overview. Oh, will you running your masterclass available in English? So I just started that, and I'm German, and usually I have the German audience here, and I have them, these people in my classes. So that's why I'm doing that in German. But I get a lot of requests, so I will do an English version. But I want first to make that, to get it right, because I also get feedback. So I will, like you do that with a prototype. It's not a prototype, but I will get the feedback. I will use the feedback and improve the class as well. And when I'm ready, let's say some weeks, some months from now, I will do that in English as well. But I want to make that right in German first. If you're interested, just send me a message via LinkedIn or however. There is a connection. I think Ginger will provide a link. Thanks for asking. Then there's a question, Miro. Okay. I think there's a link, so it's answered. Super keen to get a link to the quarter. Yes, I will provide a link to the quarter.
I think there's just one question there, which said, what's the buy-in for applying design sprints in a waterfall environment, for example, where the organization enables new technologies with commercial, I think COTS means commercial off-the-shelf products?
Okay, what's the buy-in for applying? What is COTS products? I'm sorry, I don't know that.
I think it means commercial off-the-shelf products. So I think this is an internal IT environment.
Okay. Okay. So to get buy-in, I would suggest doing an LDJ. So you will also find, we can also provide a link if you want, but if you look for Lightning Decision Jam, which is a short workshop for creating fast decisions. So instead of making a meeting make one of these LDJs, lightning decision gems, and get the people you want to convince in the room. And maybe you don't talk about, I want to show you how the design sprint work. I want to make a lightning decision gem. Don't say anything like that, but just say, let's make our next meeting a bit different, and then start doing that. So I think that's the easiest way, lowest entry level, and then just make an LDJ with them. And this is already, let's say, working with the principles of a design sprint. You don't discuss, you just note and vote, and you are very fast and you make a decision. And the power of a design sprint, let's say you have a glimpse in this first workshop, and then when that works well, then you can say, oh, this is how the design sprint also works. So this is why it's so fast. This is like, don't talk about if they are not convinced, because I experience it very often here, that people say, oh, yes, we know, oh, a new method. Oh, we had all this stuff. It's not working. So yeah, we saw that coming and going. But, and this is the first blocker, and then just don't talk about it and start doing. Just try it.
Just call it a brainstorming session and hope they don't notice the difference.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done with the questions. As we've mentioned a few times, we will share all of Sabrina's resources that she's mentioned during this after the event. So we'll work with Sabrina to gather those up, and we'll get them posted on the meetup page. So please join me in saying a massive thanks to Sabrina for attending today. I appreciate she got up really, really early in her morning in Germany. So huge thanks to Sabrina for this. And also thanks to Ginger for organising tonight as well. So Ginger put a lot of effort into making tonight happen.